The video explodes into motion without hesitation, plunging straight into chaos, noise, sweat, and violence. It does not ease the viewer in gently. It grabs them by the collar and drags them into the cage, where flesh collides with bone and pride hangs in the balance. From the very first seconds, the tone is set. This is not about technique alone, not about rankings or promotional hype. This is about the moments when fighters abandon caution and step willingly into the storm. The narration builds urgency immediately, promising the wildest, most jaw-dropping brawls in mixed martial arts history. The kind of fights where every strike feels like it could end everything. It frames the journey as a descent into pure, unfiltered combat, a showcase of the nights when discipline gives way to survival and when the cage becomes less a sporting arena and more a battleground. The first war revisited is the Road FC title clash between Mugang Koi and Yongyong, and the stakes are made clear from the outset. This is not just another bout buried on a fight card. This is championship territory, where pressure weighs heavier and every mistake carries greater consequence. From the opening exchanges, there is no feeling out process. They collide almost immediately, trading blows with an urgency that suggests both understand that hesitation is a luxury neither can afford. The first round sets the foundation, a grueling back and forth that leaves neither man unscathed. Koi fights off the back foot, absorbing pressure but firing back with desperation, while Lee marches forward relentlessly, determined to impose his will. The energy escalates in the second round as though someone turned up the heat inside the cage. The crowd senses it. The fighters feel it. By the time the third round begins, their faces are already swollen and marked, skin split and painted with evidence of the punishment endured. Yet neither man retreats. Lee continues pressing, pouring forward with brutal consistency, while Koi refuses to fold, answering through exhaustion. Eventually, it is not a lack of heart but the body itself that betrays Koi. Fatigue seeps in. The relentless pace exacts its toll, and when the final exchanges unfold, it feels less like defeat and more like the inevitable conclusion of a battle fought without reservation, without pausing to let the dust settle. The narrative pivots to the clash between Deb and Stephen Del Rey. If the previous fight was a championship war built on pressure and attrition, this one unfolds like a technical storm laced with unpredictability. From the beginning, both fighters show a willingness to experiment, to blend striking and grappling in ways that keep the momentum shifting. There are spinning techniques, sudden stance switches, kicks fired from unexpected angles. The fight pulses with creativity as much as aggression. Del Rey lands sharp combinations, finds openings in transitions, and even scrambles for dominant positions when opportunities present themselves. Yet Deb refuses to surrender control. Every time one man surges, the other answers. By the third round, fatigue should have dulled the exchanges, but instead, it seems to intensify them. Each fighter senses how close the contest is. Each knows that one decisive moment could tilt the judges' scorecards. The final horn arrives with neither man clearly dominant, leaving the decision hanging in uncertainty. When the split verdict is announced in favor of Del Rey, it feels less like a robbery or a runaway victory and more like the razor-thin margin that defines elite competition. The tone shifts again as the story moves to Magomedov versus Vladimir Manev, a bout that demonstrates how momentum in mixed martial arts can turn on a single adjustment. Early on, Magomedov establishes control through grappling and suffocating pressure. He forces Manev to react, to defend, to survive. The opening rounds belong to him, built on control and calculated aggression. But fights are not static. As the minutes pass, Manev begins to find his rhythm. Body kicks start landing with precision. Sharp punches cut through the air and connect cleanly. The tide subtly turns. Magomedov's earlier dominance begins to drain him. Fatigue creeps into his shoulders and slows his reactions. By the third round, Manev is no longer surviving. He is dictating. He presses forward with renewed authority, systematically dismantling the advantage that once seemed secure. The reversal feels almost surgical, a reminder that in the cage, control can evaporate in a matter of moments. Then comes the unforgettable all-out war between Melvin Manhoef and Cyborg Santos, a fight that abandons subtlety entirely. There is no chess match here, no gradual buildup. From the opening bell, they collide in the center of the cage and begin trading with reckless abandon. Punches whistle past ears, kicks slam into ribs. The distance between them is barely enough to breathe. The crowd senses the volatility immediately. Someone is going down. It is not a matter of if, but when. Manhoef charges forward with devastating power, every strike thrown with knockout intent. Cyborg answers in kind, absorbing punishment that would crumble lesser fighters and firing back with equal ferocity. As the rounds unfold, their gas tanks drain visibly. Hands begin to drop. Breathing grows heavier, yet neither man disengages. It becomes a test of will layered over a test of durability. At one point, it seems as though Manhoef is on the brink of collapse, legs betraying him, balance wavering. Then Cyborg falters, exhaustion stealing the edge from his counters. The fight teeters on chaos until finally the dam breaks. Manhoef's aggression and raw power prevail, leaving both men emptied. their bodies having endured punishment that borders on cinematic disbelief. The narrative refuses to soften. Moving next to Rodonk vs. Jacob Smith, a fight defined by relentless volume and controlled savagery. Rodonk storms forward early, chopping with low kicks and slicing with elbows that land like blades. Smith shows remarkable heart, absorbing damage without yielding ground. His face begins to swell, blood marking the cost of standing toe-to-toe. Yet he continues advancing, searching for moments to retaliate. Rodonk's precision, however, proves overwhelming. Across 3 rounds, he maintains a pace that suffocates the challenger, blending evasion with counters, punishing Smith's attempts to close distance. By the final moments, the outcome feels inevitable. The unanimous decision reflects not just superiority, but sustained dominance forged through relentless output. Galore. Bufando vs. Peter Earring offers a different flavor of violence. It begins as a technical duel, Bufando working angles, striking and moving, refusing to stand still. Earring rejects that approach entirely. He marches forward with singular purpose, determined to turn the contest into a slugfest. The first round becomes a clash of styles, precision against persistence. By the second, Bufando seems to accept the invitation. He plants his feet more often, meeting aggression with aggression. The exchanges grow heavier, the counters sharper. Earring continues pressing, undeterred by shots that would discourage others. The tension builds as both men flirt with exhaustion. In the end, Bufando's sharper work on the scorecards secures him the decision. Though the fight itself feels less like a measured contest and more like a stubborn collision of philosophies. Roberto Deza vs. Satoru Kuoka unfolds like a story of overcommitment and consequence. Kuoka charges relentlessly, pushing Roberto backward, forcing exchanges that blur into chaos. Roberto responds with counters, sharp and patient, waiting for openings amid the storm. The pace remains frantic until a cut changes everything. Blood becomes a factor. Kuoka's aggression continues, but now it carries risk. Roberto senses vulnerability and capitalizes, unleashing a barrage that culminates in a knockout sequence punctuated by a remarkable combination. It is the kind of finish that leaves commentators scrambling for words, proof that even in MMA, flurries worthy of boxing's highest output can decide a fight. Siako Disso vs. JDB delivers sustained momentum from start to finish. A contest fueled by crisp striking and constant pressure. Neither man concedes, based easily. They trade combinations, shoot for takedowns, scramble back to their feet. The pace rarely dips. Over time, Siako's control and cleaner work accumulate points. When the judges render a unanimous decision in his favor, it feels earned. Though JDB's resilience ensures the fight remains memorable. Michel Pereira vs. Young Han introduces stylistic contrast once more. Pereira's unpredictable arsenal keeps Han guessing from the opening seconds. Flashy kicks, sudden bursts of athleticism, and constant motion create uncertainty. As the fight progresses, Pereira tightens his approach, blending spectacle with effectiveness. The result is a performance that showcases creativity harnessed by discipline. Kakimoto vs. Kyoji Higuara and Shara Bullet vs. Sergi Martino continue the parade of violence. Each fight marked by momentum swings, punishing exchanges, and decisive moments in later rounds. Angola vs. Sankin Hagwa stretches into a 5-round war, a test of endurance where neither man yields until a thunderous uppercut in the 5th seals the outcome. Finally, Magomedes vs. Alexander Shlemko closes the sequence with a display of controlled pressure and accumulated damage. 5 rounds of steady dominance, culminating in a unanimous decision. The video does not merely recount these fights. It celebrates the chaos, the resilience, the willingness of athletes to endure punishment in pursuit of victory. Each segment reinforces the same truth. Inside the cage,